Welcome back to the All Ball Podcast, where it's all ball all the time. You are here with your host, Isaiah and Sean. This is episode number 16. Today, we're going to be talking about the Celtics and Jason Tatum's early struggles to the season. The Bulls' great success they've had this season and how entertaining they actually are to watch this year. And the Mavs, I guess basically more Porzingis, how he's kind of started to step it up. But before that, as always, Isaiah, how are you doing today, man?
I'm kind of disappointed in Jason Tatum because I vouched for him, and I mean technically you did too, but we vouched for him as a top 15 player in the league at the start of the season.
I did,
and he has done nothing but disappoint me ever since that start of the season. With the exception of some good games sprinkled here and there. And, with the most recent game being one of them, Jason Tatum has been dropping stinkers left and right. And I don't get it. At first, I thought it was Jaylen Brown. I for sure thought it was Jaylen Brown's fault. They just can't coexist on the court, which I still believe. Mm-hmm. But at this point, the problem is bigger than just Jaylen Brown. There's something wrong with Jason Tatum himself. Because even with Jaylen Brown out, these past few games, he only had one good game, and they ended up losing that game anyway.
I'm still with you, like on the thing about Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown not being able to be on the court together. I think they should still split up. You know, I think it's more of a trade deadline type of deal, though, just to see where the Celtics are at that point. But one of the reasons why I think Jason Tatum was struggling is because I think he thinks, other than Jaylen Brown, he's the only guy on that team that can really score at his level. Mm-hmm. Like, who's their third scorer on that team? Dennis Schroeder? Mark Smart? The guy that dropped 0 points in a playoff game? That's who you want as your third scorer? I kind of understand where Jason Tatum's coming from, but at the same time, you kind of got to facilitate. Jason Tatum's not like the most amazing facilitator. You know, he's not Chris Paul or Curry or whatever. Mm-hmm. But you got to get your teammates involved so that they could be those scorers. If not, then you're going to be putting yourself in the position of taking the shots that are not high percentage or just heavily contested.
You see, and that's exactly what I was about to get to. Is even besides whatever his problem with passing the ball is, he seems to just settle for really stupid shots sometimes, even when he could get all the way to the basket. Sometimes he'll just stop and pull up for the mid-range for no reason. It'll be a smaller defender and he's pulling up on the mid-range like he's Anthony Davis, scared to go to the basket for whatever reason.
Yeah, when I watch the highlights, I'll sometimes watch Celtic highlights. Like I was telling you before, I don't really watch Celtics games. Celtics are not one of the teams that really interest me. Mm-hmm. But I every once in a while, I'll watch the highlights just so I can kind of know what's going on with them. But it's like you said, he pulls up for these contested mid-rangers that I don't know. He thinks he's Kevin Durant. Like he can score like that. Like you're a good scorer, but you aren't no Kevin Durant. Come on now.
You see, that one off-season training with Kobe really ruined him for the rest of his career. He thought he was Kobe.
And okay, so one of the other problems I think is wrong with Jason Tatum is that it kind of has to deal with Jaylen Brown when Jaylen Brown's not on, because Jaylen Brown can be on every single game. You know, we don't expect every player to shoot 60% every game. Mm-hmm. But when Jaylen Brown is struggling, it seems like Jason Tatum goes more into that hero ball mode than ever.
Exactly.
And when you play hero ball, if you're not hot that game, you're going to be super cold. You're going to need 10 jackets on you. You're going to have to go to the bench warmers and ask them to hug you.
Yeah, I think that's especially a problem with Jason Tatum, because I remember this from their first game of the season where they went to double OT.
Yeah.
Even though Jaylen Brown was on, for whatever reason, when Tatum got the ball, he just went into hero ball mode when he was already shooting like 7 for 27 or whatever, and he ended 7 for 30 because if you're not hot, you can't take it upon yourself to just I'm gonna ISO and pull up for 3 or ISO RJ Barrett into a mid range when you're like 5 inches taller than him and significantly stronger.
He thinks he's the one guy that you play at with the park that's bad all game. And he's like, I got the last shot. I got the last shot.
Come on, bro. I got that clutch shooter badge, bro.
Exactly. And it's not like his teammates can't score. Like we've seen what Josh Richardson could do when he actually shoots the ball. And his Cantor's known for his offensive game. Al Horford.
Smart. Oh, I was going to say Marcus Smart has improved on offense a lot.
Al Horford, is not exactly the prime version of himself, even though his prime wasn't like amazing or whatever. But, he's still good. He can score.
He's decent.
And Grant Williams, of all people, lit up my Rockets. So,
to be fair, Grant Williams has lit up a couple teams this season.
He's like the sneaky scorer of the team.
And then let's not forget Mr. 0 points. As much as we meme about the 0 points, he can still score the ball most of the time. Yeah, so I don't understand like why he thinks that his whole team is just offensively inept without him.
Grant Williams is the guy coach is like, oh, they ain't ready for this one to come in.
They leave him on the bench and it's like, oh, the team's playing like trash right now. Send him in. He's our safety net. Send him in.
So I want to ask you, before we move on to the next topic, with Jason Tatum performing so bad, is he lowering his I guess you could call it value of trade, or is he still, because he's Jason Tatum, because he's so young, and because he's shown a lot of potential, is he still at that high value?
Well, as far as trades go, I don't see the Celtics moving him anyway. So lowering trade value, that kind of doesn't matter, because unless something just happens where the team becomes drastically awful and it's a few years later down the line, so he's older, I don't see any reason why they're trading him. But in terms of just his value as a player, he's definitely taken that value way down. Yeah, you can't be on my list. He was number 12 player in the league, and you have one good game out of every 3 or 4 games.
Right.
Yeah, that's not how that works.
I'll ask you the same question for Jaylen Brown about the value thing.
Now, Jaylen Brown is more of a question mark one because he's been out of games recently. And then even before that, Jason Tatum really wasn't missing games. So then we're kind of juggling the whole, is it because of Tatum or is it because of him? Because I know there were a couple games that Tatum missed, I think. And Jaylen Brown did go off. So I don't know. I feel like Jaylen Brown's value is either just about where it should be or it's a little bit up from where it was. But I don't think he's dropped his value.
Okay. I don't think he's dropped his value either, just because of how Jason Tatum is playing is kind of affecting him. But at the same time, he's obviously the more expendable one of the two.
Yeah.
He's, obviously going to get traded first. If they trade Jason Tatum before Jaylen Brown, there's something wrong with everyone in that Celtics front office.
Yeah, that's going to be a massive L on the Celtics franchise.
They might as well just blow it up again if they trade Jason Tatum away.
Exactly. It's like, you know what? We just got to try again.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, let's go ahead and move on to our next topic, which is the Bulls. The Bulls are off to an amazing start to the season, and I think they've surprised everyone. We knew they were going to be good and better than they were last year. That's not hard to do, but they're doing a lot better than what we expected. So, Isaiah, what are your thoughts about the Bulls?
The Bulls have really surprised me. I know I expected them to be good, and I think I even said at one point that at best I could see them around a 4-ish seed or something.
Mm-hmm.
But wow, I like besides their team success, actually watching them play, they look really good. And that's the part that surprises me. Lonzo looks significantly more confident on the team. Zach
Mm-hmm.
LaVine is still Zach LaVine. He's going to do what he does. And then DeMar DeRozan, he's DeMar DeRozan. But shockingly, he's hitting threes a little bit more respectably than usual from what I've
Mm-hmm.
seen. So got to give him his credit there too. There's just this Bulls team looks really dangerous out there in the East.
Yeah, I had questions about this Bulls team going into the season because of how is Zach LaVine gonna play with two ball handlers coming onto this team? How is this team gonna mesh together? You know, Vucevic was still fairly new to the team because he was, acquired at the trade
Yeah,
deadline.
trade deadline last season.
And now you're bringing in two more. I guess you could call them stars. I don't know if Lonzo's considered a superstar, but he's a star.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's not all star necessarily, but he could get there. He's close.
right. And then you have a guy like DeMar, who is a star, and he's been playing well. But the question was, like I said, how is Zach LaVine with the ball no longer in his hands? How is he gonna, get his scoring? How is he gonna play off of these guys? Well, DeMar DeRozan, I guess you could say, has been the primary ball handler of this team, and he's been doing great. He's been able to get LaVine the ball. He's been able to get, Lonzo the ball. Cruz has been playing great defense, and he can shoot the three ball pretty well. Vucevic has kind of struggled, I would say. He's
Yeah.
picked it up a little bit, but I think he, to start the season, he was the one guy that was struggling off the team. But I think as a big man, that's probably not getting as much touches as he was on not the Jazz, the Magic. You're probably going to struggle if you're not getting the same amount of touches and you're not, getting your feel early in the season.
The thing is, there were some games where he was getting the touches. It's just something was off for whatever reason.
Yeah. Who else has looked really good on this team? Well, I think DeMar DeRozan actually might be the best acquisition of the offseason.
I could see that. Yeah, I could see that because the way this team is performing and the way that it can revolve around him sometimes, like in those LA games they played, absolutely. DeMar DeRozan could be regarded as the best acquisition of this past offseason.
He's taken over a lot of these games too and brought them back. Now, imagine, because there was rumors that he was going to go to LA to play with the Lakers. Now, imagine if he would have played with the Lakers, where would this Bulls team would probably not be above 500.
Oh,
They would be
I
around
definitely
500.
don't see that. Yeah.
But the Lakers would probably be in a lot better shape because, other than Bron, who's handling the ball?
Yeah. And I also want to say that I trust DeMar DeRozan on that team a lot more than I trust Westbrook.
Oh, I do too. Honestly, I just completely forgot that Westbrook was on the team right now. That's why I was like, who else other than Bron? And then you say Westbrook, like the guy that literally wants the ball in his hands 24/7.
Yeah. I think that just goes to show how disappointing he's been this season as a player for the Lakers.
Yeah, he's had a couple of good games, but I think they're mostly when LeBron's out.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, because they were recently, and LeBron's been out for a good stretch now.
Yeah, I think it's 6 games now with that. It's hip contusion, right?
I think it was somewhere. It was like somewhere in like the middle of his body. Somewhere.
I think it was like hip or thigh contusion or something like that. But no, I thought this team at the beginning of the season, the Bulls team, could not finish no higher than a 5 seed. I thought they were going to have chemistry problems, and I wasn't sure how Billy Donovan as a coach was going to be able to coach this team. Now, I don't see this team falling below 4. I think this team is going to be really good. I think they could probably get into the second round with ease. I'll say with ease, because even though the Eastern Conference is stacked this year, a lot of these teams are still disappointing. Like the Hawks are still really disappointing.
Yeah.
The Celtics are disappointing. So, I could see them getting a second seed. I wouldn't even be surprised if they make it to the conference finals.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see that too. The only problem is that the East is just really in a confusing place right now. The Wizards were the 1 seed for the couple weeks, I think.
Yeah.
The Heat have now catapulted from, I think they were at 5 at one point, to now they're number 1. The Nets, who knows what James Harden is going to do on a night-to-night basis, and who knows if Kyrie is ever going to come back to this team this season. The Bucks, they were dealing with so many health problems, and now they're finally healthy again. So who knows what run they could go on to climb the standings.
Right.
Yeah, so the East is in a really odd spot. But I think the Bulls, they're a slight bit of consistency in this weird alternate universe Eastern Conference right now.
Right. And I mean, unfortunately for them, Patrick Williams is out for the rest of the season. I thought he was going to be their, a really good small forward for them, or power forward, however you're going to put it, tomorrow, 3 or whatever. But looking at the conferences right now and the standings, even though the East is more like stacked, the Western Conference is a lot more predictable right now.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Looking at the bottom teams, it's all the same teams that have been here for the last, couple years, except the Rockets. We've only been here for like a year and a half. So
since last year. Yeah.
The Warriors, they look like they're going to be the number 1 seed this year again. Well, I mean, not again, but from their
from their
dynasty. Yeah.
Line, yeah.
But the Pacers, 13 seed. Come on now. Like, I know y'all been having these players like in and out, injured and whatever, but
13. That's low.
I have a solid starting 5 like Brogdon, LeVert, Turner, Sabonis, who's an all-star, and is TJ Warren? TJ Warren's not back, right?
I think he came back recently, but even without him, they had what's his name? Duarte, yeah. They had Duarte in the lineup. And then they have a solid 6th man in TJ McConnell. So, yeah, I don't see how they could be a 13th seed. Yeah, that's just not right. That's not right.
No. And the Hawks, I think a lot of it, even though he used to be one of my favorite players on the Rockets, Capella's probably one of the main like focal points of why this team is struggling right now. He's not playing as great as defense as he was last year. So, once he gets back on track, I think a lot of the, offensive struggles will fix themselves, because, obviously good defense translates to better offense.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty, basic basketball knowledge.
And then I think another thing with them is just the fact that Trae Young seems to be in a really confusing spot right now too. Where you'll look at his box score numbers like, he had a good game. And then you look at the efficiency and it's like, oh, he did not have a good game at all.
Yeah. He's been kind of selling me on fantasy, so well, I mean, we'll see what happens. I don't think I'll trade him, but the Knicks, I thought the Knicks were going to be doing a little better. They're 8-7 right now. 76ers, they're still doing better than I thought they were, but obviously they don't have Ben Simmons.
Yeah.
Mm.
Honestly, the Sixers are doing worse than I thought they were, considering that just last week, I think it was, we were talking about them, and they only had 2 losses at that point. No, it was either last week or the week before that, and they only had 2 losses, and now they're
Mm-hmm.
at 7.
Yeah, I'm looking at their last 10, and they are 5 for 5.
So yeah, that's rough. Then
All right.
another team that's been really weird is the Cavs, because they were actually looking kind of decent
Mm-hmm.
until Colin Sexton got injured, and now he's out for who knows how long.
Yeah, Ricky Rubio has been playing. I mean, I wouldn't say all-star level. That's all huge stretch to say, but
Yeah. But
he's playing really well.
yeah, he's been playing above his typical play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Crossed up Steph last night.
just we got super Ricky Rubio, which I think is hilarious considering how just before this season or at the beginning of the season we were talking about how Ricky Rubio, he's one of those respectable team guys where he's not a
Yeah,
star, but he gives you consistent playmaking, defense, the little things. And now he comes out this season, he's just doing everything.
it's feels so weird to like see him on the Cavs. It doesn't feel like he's like a Cavs type of player. I don't know. Like in that jersey, he looks weird. He feels like a Spurs type of player.
Yeah, and I think it also has to do with the fact that the Cavs are a super young team that usually suck.
Mm-hmm.
And so seeing him with all of those guys, it doesn't feel right.
Right. So you want to go ahead and move on to our next topic, which is the Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Dallas Mavericks have been. I guess you could either take it surprisingly good or surprisingly bad. I'm going to say surprisingly bad, but Porzingis is kind of stepping it up now. He's playing a lot better recently, but I mean, I guess Isaiah, what are your thoughts about it?
I have to say that I'm going to say they're surprisingly good.
Hmm.
One, because they're currently the 4th seed, which is higher than they've been before.
Hmm.
And then also calling back to what I said when we talked about them previously, the team has been really good, but Luka has been really bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna say they're surprisingly good, but more importantly, I think that the Luka Porzingis duo has to go. I know I sound like a broken record. I said this about CJ and Dame. I said this about Tatum and Brown, but I I can't help it. These duos around the league, they're just not cutting it.
Well, I think everyone can agree on the CJ and Dame thing. I think that's been agreed upon like since 2019 or so.
Yeah, yeah. But still, the Luka Porzingis duo. This one really kills me because outside of looking at the box score, you can just see it when they're on the court together. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just like the Tatum Brown duo, where if one of them doesn't have the ball, then that one is just standing around, just watching the other one do their ISO.
Yeah.
And that's I don't want to say it's not basketball, but it's not basketball. Basketball is supposed to be a team sport. If you
Mm-hmm.
don't have the ball, you should be placing yourself in an optimal position to catch and either shoot or attack,
Mm-hmm.
or you should be working to get open or get to a position where you can catch and shoot, catch and attack.
Right. It's not basketball at its finest.
Yeah, it's very low quality basketball.
Mm-hmm. So with Porzingis doing so well, and he's actually healthy at the moment, I think if you're Mark Cuban and the rest of the front office, I think you have to consider trading him now because of how well he's been doing recently and the fact that he is healthy. Porzingis has had a lot of injuries over his career, with only being in the NBA since 2016,
16, I think it's 15, because I think he was in that Cat and D'Lo draft.
Yeah, it is 15. I'm looking at it right now. 15. In 7 years, he's had quite a few injuries. And now that he's actually, healthy, he actually got to come out of the offseason. I heard that this is the first offseason where he's actually coming into the regular season healthy. He's not having a rehab. He's actually able to work himself, to get better during the offseason. So now that, he's healthy, he's doing better, I think if you're going to trade him, you got to trade him now.
Yeah, I 100% agree. One, because I just absolutely think he needs to be traded. So by that standard, they need to be looking now in the first place, because he needs to go. I don't think there's any way this duo really works. And so if you're going to do that, which they should, now would be the time to do it while he's on fire.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Would it be a consideration of him staying if they decide to try to add a second star and move Porzingis to the third? Let's say they try to do a trade. I don't know if this is even financially possible, but they trade for McCollum.
I don't see it. I really don't see it. Because like I said, the problem that I have with this duo is that when one of them has the ball, they just ISO. And the other one just gets out of the way and watches them ISO. And adding another star to that would not help that. I think the real problem is that there's really no true play discipline from Jason Kidd, because there's way too much ISOing going on for it to truly be some offense that he drew up. But at the end of the day, this is a brand new coach that they just got. So they're not going to fire him to get a new system implemented. So at that point, you have to just replace the personnel on the court.
And from what I've seen from Jason Kidd, when he actually does drop, there are some plays that he does drop that are pretty good. There's some things I've seen that I've liked from him. But I think it's like Luka thinks he's too much of a big shot. I don't know, a star that he could just kind of say, forget the play and let me just ISO and score for my team. But he's kind of did the James Harden thing where he comes into the season overweight. He looks pretty out of shape, if you ask me. And I think Porzingis just, I don't know why he ISOs. It's mainly in the post. And I think I saw a stat that it was like when he's in the post a certain amount of times in the game, he shoots like this terrible efficiency or something like that.
Yeah, and it probably has to do with the fact that every time he goes to the post for an ISO, he goes for the least efficient possible shot with some kind of turnaround mid-range.
Yeah.
I rarely see him actually post somebody up with the intention of getting to the basket. And so if you're not going to take advantage of your size to get to the basket, which probably just has to do with the fact that he's just way too skinny for his height, then you just shouldn't be posting up, because it's not doing you any favors and it's not doing the team any favors.
Yeah, bro, you're 7'3". If you could get at least 6 feet away from the rim, you're in a good spot.
And I think that's part of the reason that really kills it, is that when he goes to post, he's posting from too far out. And because of that, he's not strong enough to bully to the rim. So that he just has to throw up these stupid mid-ranges.
Yeah.
And I just post closer and all you have to do is pull a Boban, just turn around and throw it at the
Yeah,
rim.
for real. It like you said, he's posting up far away. Has a lot to do with his positioning, like to begin with. If he can't start around the mid range area and work his way to the like right under the basket. Well, obviously that's a lot better option, but he starts at like right at the edge of the 3-point line.
Yeah,
where his post ups start there, and he works himself to the mid range and then fades. So you're taking a extremely long two while fading away when you could have gotten a close contested layup, which I'd probably rather take.
Exactly. And I think like I think he just has naturally terrible positioning on the court, because that's part of the reason why, despite him being a 7'3" number 2 on the team, he only gets 8 boards a game. When you're 7'3" and you're the second guy on the team, which means you're getting a ton of minutes, you should be grabbing at least double-digit boards. But he spends too much time far away from the goal, so he can't take advantage of that height.
Right. Yeah. That's kind of all I have to say about the Mavs. Is there anything else you want to say about them?
No, I think everything speaks for themselves.
Okay. One more quick topic I wanted to talk about was I saw this stat that showed when Carmelo Anthony is on the floor with the Lakers, they're the number 1 offense in the league.
What?
When he's off, I think they drop down to 29th. It isn't too hard of a guess to take who's last. Like, think about who's last. We kind of talk about them a lot.
Yeah. that aside, I don't know what side of that is more surprising. Them being number 1 with him on the court, or them being so terribly low to where they're almost last with him off the court.
I think it's number 1 because obviously he's still a good enough scorer to where you take him out that the team obviously will drop, but for him to put them at number 1,
yeah.
Well, Carmelo, can I reverse time and you have that same mindset when you're with us? Please? We would have won the championship that year.
Oh yeah. If we could have had number 1 offense Melo, yeah, we would have been champions.
But I think that was just like a very interesting stat to bring up. It really surprised me when I saw that because I know he's been doing really great this year, and I kind of trashed him a little bit at the beginning of the season, saying that you really don't want him taking your last shot. But at the moment, he's kind of,
now you do want him taking your last shot.
Yeah, I do. Sorry, Bill. I'm sorry. Here's the ball. But actually, one more surprising stat. We were last. The Rockets are last in assists, like first in turnovers. Who else? What was the other stat? Let me see if I saved it. I think I might have saved it. Let me see. Give me a second.
While you're looking for it, I just want to say that neither of those surprised me. It's hard to be anywhere high in assists when you're number 1 in turnovers, because most of the time you're turning the ball over trying to get an assist. So they kind of feed off of each other. We're going to be first in turnovers and last in assists because we can't seem to solve either problem.
I cannot find it, but I think we're going to end up on that list that everyone keeps bringing up of the most like losingest teams of all time.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. Considering that we once again lost to the only team that we've beat this season, yeah, I for sure see us. I could honestly see us breaking the record for the worst team in NBA history. Well, worst record in NBA history.
I can too.
Yeah, because I think the lowest is 7 wins.
Is.
Yeah, I think it was 7 wins. Yeah, from the Bobcats.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, considering that we're 15 games in and we have one, yeah, I could see us finishing with 5 or less.
Oh man, this is gonna be a rough season, man.
It would not surprise me if we finished with less than 7 wins.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about them too much. I don't want to get sad, but
yeah, tanking for Chet.
Oh man, as bad as we're doing, they might want to give us the second pick too, just to help us out, so we can Chet and
first and second.
Palmero. But other than that, man, is there anything else you wanted to talk about before we wrap everything up?
No, man, I'm done.
All right. Well, that's gonna be the end of the episode. We hope you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed it, go ahead and like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below. Isaiah, is there anything you wanted to talk about before we head out?
You know the usual. Share it with your friends, family, co-workers, anybody you can get this to that loves basketball. And don't forget to check out the Instagram All Ball Podcast YT, and that's it.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, we'll see you next time. If you celebrate it, have a happy Thanksgiving. But later.